And we're live.
And we're live. So, welcome back to another Nerdrotic recap. We have a special double header tonight because we weren't able to get to Arrow yesterday. We'll be covering Legends of Tomorrow first, and then we will get to Arrow right after that, all in this one episode. I am your host, John Reed, coming to you live from Truckee, California, where it's storming outside. I was happy just to have power to watch the episode tonight. You can follow me on Twitter at JohnReed16, and joining me, as usual, for all of these CW recaps, we have the Greek geek himself, Dennis Bethalkis. How's it going, Dennis?
I'm doing good. I'm down here in San Diego. The weather's been kind of brutal here, too. It's been 73 degrees and overcast. So the San Diegans have been complaining.
So terrible. It's like it's deep winter there in San Diego with the 73
I'm not kidding
degrees.
you. The girls put on their Uggs and their parkas and stuff like that, but still wear the booty shorts.
Wonderful Southern California. Well, I'll be back myself this weekend and back to my usual setup down there in LA. So yeah, I guess we can jump right in. Legends of Tomorrow tonight. I thought this was almost as strong as the premiere for me. I like that they focused in on feudal Japan. We got a lot of samurai action. I felt like the writing was super strong tonight. We got a lot of fun references, jokes about ninjas and Star Wars and all sorts of fun stuff.
It went
How'd
back
you like
to
it?
it went back to the premiere, which was really good. I think they just had a stumbling with that second episode, I think is what it was, and with the Nazis and everything.
Yeah, I feel like they had to go
Hold
there
on,
for the JSA, and maybe they didn't.
Just 1 second. I know we're live. Yes. Go and leave. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Yay, special guest Pepper.
To go out and bark at something.
I'll let you get your headphones in. But so here's what I think about that second episode. I feel like they needed to get the JSA to get Vixen on the show. And so they kind of had to go where the JSA was, which was during World War II. And I don't know if they necessarily had the best story to tell. They just needed to get through those plot beats to get us to kind of the new status quo for this group, right?
I think so. Well, I mean, we know that they're switching up the team. They're going to be switching up the team as we go along. And they're going to have different members come in and things like that. So this just happens to be the first of many different heroes throughout time, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and I like you. Look, I already kind of said I love that concept because it really is like a very comic book feel where they're rotating members in and out of a large team cast. But if they keep it as effective, like this episode was very, very strongly centered around Steel and Vixen, and I would say Ray as well. So they're kind of highlighting characters that we know and love while giving some really strong story beats to the newer characters. And if they do this successfully going forward, where they rotate in characters so that they can tell strong stories with those characters, I think this is going to be a really successful format.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that'll be really good. And also, I mean, they increased Sarah's her performance as well. I mean, her characterization.
Well, she's the team leader, right? So she's always
she is, yeah.
Right.
So we now see her as a team leader. This is her first episode that we've seen her in as team leader, and I think it worked.
I love her as leader. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So why in particular do you think it worked?
Well, you had Ray as a comic relief, which is what he's always been. You now have Nate discovering what abilities that he has as Citizen Steel now, or Steel, as I guess they're going to call him. You have Mick as, the badass, basically the muscle, if you will. You have the two geeks, the resident geeks, which are the Professor and Jax. They both have their own geekiness. One's automotive, one is, scientific. And then you have Vixen, which is the new person coming in, and she's the one that, of course, it's still formulaic in a way, but it works. I mean, and again, this only works when they actually have conflict going on, where they're not having to sit down and talk. Remember, I was saying with the Nazi thing, they're having too many moments where they were just bickering amongst themselves. and it didn't work. And
Yep.
now we had more of a storyline where they had a lot of conflict going with the Shogun. So it was kind of nice. They did a good job.
And the times where they were just sitting around or walking around talking in this episode were kind of fun, right? Like when they were talking about if ninjas exist, and Sarah's like, "I'm
Yeah.
kind of a ninja," and later when Steele is having a conversation with his Japanese love interest, I forget what was her name?
I want to say Mizaku. Yeah,
Yeah,
Mizaku.
Misaku. It's Misaku. Anyway, they have the conversation where he quotes Yoda, and she asks him about what wise man said that. The the talking bits are fun this episode, and I think that they need to veer. And you've got you've got Dr. Stein and Jax not doing what they're supposed to be doing and hunting down this mysterious room on the spaceship. Everything was just kind of fun, right?
Yeah.
So they just got to keep it at that level and not try to go too deep with this show.
Yeah, exactly. You make it comic booky. The more comic booky, the better.
Yep. And one of the reasons I liked Sarah as the leader of this team, it reminded me a little bit of Firefly, right? Like in the past, I feel like this show was kind of like Doctor Who with superheroes, and now it's more like a space team with some time travel elements. So it's almost like Firefly with time travel
Kind of, yeah.
and superpowers. And I like that change. That dynamic is different, right? Like Jax is the new uh, ship mechanic.
Engineer,
And
yeah.
yeah, like everyone has their kind of Star Trek or Firefly role, and they're working well within those dynamics. Mick is the Jane,
Yeah.
and and it's really fun. I think it's just a much better concept than having Rip be just the leader of this team where everyone else is kind of on an equal playing field. There's more dynamic at play.
Yeah. Yeah, people don't feel as fish out of water, which I
Right.
think that's what they were doing the whole first season was everyone was fish out of water. And it just went on for a little too long.
Yep.
That and
Agreed.
combined with the Hawkman, Hawkwoman
Savage
being
stuff.
being saddled with that whole plot line, that really hurt it badly.
A lot. And this episode, we didn't even, all we had was a mention of this other time traveler that they're hunting down in Thawne. And that's it. Like he didn't pop up, at the end and change something else that they have to go deal. You know what I mean? Like they're not staying as strict to this as they were with them hunting down Savage because Rip's kids were killed, family was killed by, like
Oh yeah.
they're not going as deep into the overall storyline as they have. And I think you're right. At sweeps and at the mid-season premiere and at the season finale, we'll see a lot more tie into the overall plot thread here of the rogues of the
Legion
Legion of Doom. But other than that, we're just going to get fun time travel stories with a team that's actually functioning dysfunctionally, and I like that.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. And of course, next week we've got zombies.
Mm-hmm. Civil War zombies.
Civil War zombies, yeah. Which I think might actually allude to Solomon Grundy.
Oh, that would be awesome. So that was a question I had, and you may not know the answer to this, and I definitely felt watching this episode like I was going to miss some references in it because I'm not at all familiar with any DC comics that happened in Japan or in feudal Japan or anything like that. So I don't know if there were references in there, characters in there that I missed or any Easter eggs. That said, I just because I felt like I may be missing something, I actually didn't miss anything in the enjoyment of the episode.
No, this was purely historical more than anything else. Um, God, I can't remember the name of the sword maker now.
Yeah, he asks at the end of the episode. Ray asks the family that they were trying to protect through this what the name of the sword that he had borrowed from him was, and it was obviously a very famous sword maker.
Well, it wasn't a Muramasi. Muramasi is one of the most famous sword makers.
Right.
This was actually one of the, if I remember correctly, he is
Yama. Is it? Anyway,
he's the precursor to Muramasi, actually, if I remember correctly.
Right.
So he's the teacher of Muramasi, if I remember my swords correctly.
Before we dig even further into this actual episode, I did want to bring up though, this did kind of like I almost felt like I was getting some Wolverine storyline, the Japanese Wolverine storylines from the
No,
comics. Like, I almost felt like I was getting them trying to capture that lightning in this bottle a little bit.
no, it was a typical. They actually stuck to a very simple, ninja storyline. That's kind of I thought was what they were doing. It was like an '80s ninja movie,
Yeah,
only with
samurai. Yeah,
superheroes.
So yeah, let's go in a little bit further on the plot here. So we've got a few characters driving the plot. The first one is Steel. He wakes up from his injuries from the last episode after being injected by the Nazi serum that Ray had augmented, and finds that his skin is all steely, right? So he's got a story arc in this episode where he's both trying to discover how to use his powers correctly, what his powers really are, and to protect this woman in feudal Japan who this evil shogun is trying to marry against her will, essentially.
Well,
So
yeah,
what did you
basically
think?
he knows actually the shogun that he mentioned is a real historical shogun, and yes, it's true. He did stand up because he would marry women and then kill them. So that was the whole thing. Is he knew what her fate was that basically she was going to die if she married this guy.
So in normal time travel shows, which this is not one, would they be worried, right, to upset the time stream?
Yeah, it
And
was kind of this one they weren't caring about it. There was no talk at all about disrupting the time stream. They're just kind of like, hey, we're just gonna kill these guys. What the hell,
yeah, and I really thought that this was a pro. Like, this was not a detraction in any way for me. I don't give a fuck about the timeline. I want to see good, fun storytelling, and I like that they dropped that whole pretense as if anything's going to affect anything else, right?
It kind of reminded me. I've been watching the Treehouse of Horrors, the Simpsons Treehouse of Horrors lately, all of them, and the one where Homer fixes the toaster and goes back in time. And he keeps going back in time, and every time he comes back, something has changed because he has squished something. And finally, he just gets pissed off, and he's goes back in time. He's got a baseball bat, and he's just smashing stuff. And that's kind of what it felt like this was. Was like he just didn't care anymore.
Yeah, and it looks like next episode we're going to get more of that, where there's going to be crushing Civil War zombies, right? So I feel like the show has just kind of left that whole pretense aside of the Time Masters and saving the timeline, and now it's just like, hey, let's have fun travels through different eras, right?
Yeah.
Like with superheroes. That's all we want. That's all we wanted. That's all we've wanted. It's great. I love it. So another storyline we had. Actually, before we move on to Ray or Vixen or Sarah or Mick, let's stay on the Steel. And what did you think of both the visual interpretation of Steel's powers and with... You haven't loved this character so far, so what did you think of his personal journey this episode?
Still very two-dimensional. I mean, I still don't like the character really all that much. He's there to serve a purpose, basically, which I think the AI, we already know the AI is smart enough.
Yes.
And if they would just bump it up and just make it so that the ship is another part of the crew. And since they already have those, they've swallowed the translators and all that kind of stuff, just have it so it connects to Gideon as well on the ship. So it already connects to everyone else, so.
Sure. But how would that replace, oh, you mean to have a historian, to essentially not need someone who understands history? Okay.
Yeah.
But beyond that, like, I feel like he's serving more of a purpose than that. Like, I feel like he is the audience's conduit into this team. He's experiencing this stuff with us, right?
But now that he's gotten powers, he's lost that. I mean, he's lost it completely now, and it's just one episode. That's all it was, that he didn't have powers. So yeah, it's that ship has sailed, so to speak.
So moving on from Steel, my favorite storyline in this episode, I mean, I liked the Sarah stuff, but I think the one that I really honed in on was the Ray Palmer storyline, where he tries to say, so they're playing around, right? They're testing out Steel's powers, and when they do that, he doesn't know his own strength, and he knocks Ray into the cargo bay door, and it forces it open, and Steel gets sucked out, and Ray follows him, and that's how they get stranded for a little while in feudal Japan, or how they end up in feudal Japan.
Yeah.
Ray is for a little time, for a short time, stranded alone in feudal Japan, and during that time he gets taken by the shogun, and the shogun knocks him out, imprisons him, and steals his suit. Ray
Yep.
then has to fight with the idea of either destroying the suit if he can't get it back. And in the end, that's what ends up happening is they put the auto destruct on the suit essentially, and it blows up, taking the shogun with him.
Well, did it actually destroy the suit, or because remember he said theoretically it destroys the suit?
Yes, we don't know that, but it seems
it
seems as if it has destroyed the suit.
I think he might have just shrunk down into the subatomic level. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, and I mean that's a definite possibility, right? Because look, the suit is like Ray Palmer without the suit is nowhere near as valuable to this team, even though he's a genius, right? Like the suit, we know he's in the future he's going to have to struggle with, am I more than just the atom, right? And it seems like that's where this storyline with Ray is going, and I think that it was almost like losing a character when we supposedly lost the suit at the end of this episode.
Well, I look at it this way. He built that suit. He knows how to build another one.
It'd take him a while, though.
He's on a ship that basically can, remember that they said it will give them anything they want, like clothing-wise and stuff like that. It creates it. So
do you think he'll have the suit immediately next episode?
No, probably not, because I mean they're not going to be that smart in the writing team to realize that they already wrote that in for themselves.
Right.
So that all he has to basically do go to Gideon and go, here's the schematics for it. I'm going to program all the schematics in. You just fabricate the suit for me.
Yeah. I can just see the next couple episodes where it's like Dr. Palmer and Jax, engineering a new suit that's bigger and badder and better.
Yeah. It's going to be pretty stupid, honestly. It's going to be drawn out more than it needs to be.
Right.
When really it should just be Dr. Palmer and Gideon walking up to Gideon and going, okay, here's the schematics. Build the suit for me, please. Oh, and I made a couple of, modifications here and there.
Yeah. No, for sure. I totally agree. I think the Atom suit and the Atom are some of the strongest aspects of the show. So
really, I think it's kind of the weakest because it's more.
Oh, you don't like it? I like it.
It's more Iron Man-esque, whereas the original Atom was it was more kind of like Ant-Man in a way, where you just had the belt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying, but that said, who cares what the original Atom is? I'm not like this isn't in comparison to comic book Atom. I'm just saying like Iron Man on this show is awesome. Like I'm cool with that. It's fun. He flies around, he shoots things, he can shrink, he can grow. Like I like what he brings to the show. It looks pretty good in comparison to some of the other effects.
You mean like
there
Citizen Steel?
Yeah, what's up?
You mean like Citizen Steel?
That was bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. There's a budget. We're on the CW. The Flash has looked pretty bad this season too. But man, it was almost like the actor had to slow down his speech so that the lips would sync up with it in ADR. Like it was pretty. There's no texture at all. It just looks like liquid metal, kind of moving very clunkily.
Yeah, it was actually very lazy texturing. That's all I'm gonna say.
Really, I mean, it was as if they took a template and just said that's good enough.
That was really what it was. They just slapped it on and they put some. They screwed the light modulation just a little bit to get it to match the environment, and that was it. I mean, nothing really. Sorry, I went into technical terms there, people. So.
Yeah, no. Look, I've just kind of accepted the fact that for the most part, it's going to look terrible. Like they put their money into the Wave Rider, I think, to some degree, and I think they've put their money into into Ray Palmer's suit. I think those are really the two biggest ones.
Well, Vixen's abilities, whenever she
Yes.
hits, I thought it was actually done fairly well. I mean, you
Those
have
look really good.
the
You're
animal
correct.
totems,
But those are only for a second. Like that's what's so great about those is just like it kind of flashes the image and then it disperses and then she's that animal and it looks great, right? But it doesn't have to be sustained like some of these other things do.
Yeah, true.
So yeah, so I do love that we have Adam Iron Man on the show, and I find that I'm gonna miss it until they bring it back again. Like I want that element on this show, and I'm pissed that they, I kind of am mourning. That's a strong word, but you know what I mean. Like
It'll be
I'm
back in
gonna
two
miss it.
episodes.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope it's back next episode. Quite honestly, at the end.
No, you give it 2 episodes because they have to deal with it first, and then there's acceptance, and then he's like resolved to build another one.
Yep.
It's CW plot.
So let's keep with the away team here, and let's just kind of group Vixen, Sarah, and Mick into one storyline, right? Like they were kind of together as the rescue team to go rescue them and deal with the problem. And you had Vixen, who had attacked Mick at the beginning of the episode because she thought he killed Rex because he's this villain on the Legends team. He's a thief and a bad guy. And she had to come around to learn that maybe he's a little more reformed than she had thought, even though he's resisting that concept. And you have Sarah, who's trying to make everyone play nice, right? And lead this group.
Actually, she delivered one of the best lines this episode, which was "Don't make me drop you guys off in a time period of my choice together."
Yeah, no, I mean, that was the strongest leadership I think we've seen on almost any of the CW shows, which is really surprising because I've always thought that Sarah was sort of a weak character. But in this moment, she acted in a way that you want Oliver to act all the time, that you want Wells to act like all the time, like all these team leaders. This is what you want. Like, this is how you deal with annoying elements in your team, right? And I just thought that it was fun to see Sarah in this role, and I thought that from the very beginning now, she's stepping up into this leader role, and it's effective. It's good. She's good at this.
Sorry, I have a visitor over here that wants to come to my lap. So,
in addition to being a badass, right? Like the fight scene she had with the two samurai swords.
When she started showing off her league moves, definitely.
Yeah, it was badass. It looked really good. It was really cool. I liked it a lot.
Which, makes you wonder, how did she get her ass kicked in the beginning by the one guy?
Well, she was surprised again. You would think that she would be well attuned to her environment, but whatever. And that whole ninja argument, as fun as it was, is kind of ridiculous because she is actually a ninja, and I know she said that at one point, but she's actually a ninja. Like, why is Mick wanting to find out if ninjas exist when he knows that ninjas exist?
Well, no, he knows that ninjas exist. It was the whole thing of proving it to Vixen, because Vixen was saying that they didn't exist. So
you would think just seeing Sarah fighting, she would realize that ninjas in fact do exist.
Exactly.
Like, what does she need her like League of Assassin gear just to prove that she's a ninja? Like, I don't.
She needs her League of Assassin Dakota ring.
Yeah, exactly. Her membership card. So the last little piece of this episode which we kind of alluded to earlier, I think, unless that was pre-show, was Dr. Stein and Jax were searching for a hidden compartment on the Wave Rider because Gideon mentioned that there were 36 rooms, and Jax was like, wait a minute, I've only ever known that there were 35, and I know this ship like the back of my hand. So they decide, instead of fixing the hyperdrive like they're supposed to, or the time travel drive, whatever the fuck they're calling it. Instead of fixing the time drive, they decide to go on a wild goose treasure hunt for this hidden compartment. And they end up finding it, and I'll let you describe what's in the compartment for our listeners.
So basically, there's just all these glass cabinets filled with weapons. I mean, it just looks like an armory. And at first, they're going through with flashlights, and then the lights come on, and then there's a panel on the wall that has all these files, and all the files are restricted except for one. One is open, and it's from Barry Allen. It's a message from Barry Allen. But Barry Allen from 2056. So he's
an old man?
Yeah, it's 40 years into the future for them, from when they left in 2016. And basically, Barry is talking to Rip Hunter, and he's saying that he's got some information that the rest of the group shouldn't know. And of course, they listen to it, and now they know what it is, but they don't think they should let the rest of the group know. They're kind of debating whether or not to dole out this information.
And we don't know what this information is.
We don't know what it is either. No. So that's going to play into a couple episodes.
We would assume that it has to do with the creation of the Legion of Doom. And
also,
right?
I think it's going to have to do with it's going to have to do with something in the time stream. We don't know exactly what. Same
maybe
thing.
The resurrection of Laurel, or something to do with Flashpoint. It could be any of those things, really.
Yeah, it could be a whole bunch of different things.
So actually, you know what? I just kind of thought about it, bringing up Laurel. We haven't really touched on that at all this season, but she's coming back, right? On one of these shows.
Yeah.
Is she going to be on Arrow?
She's going to be on Arrow, yes. She's going to come back on Arrow.
I just wonder how that's going to play out. Like, they haven't really done a great job. As much as they've done a great job of getting the quality at about the same level for all these shows, give or take, they've done a really bad job of integrating like the effects of time travel on all of these shows.
That's because everyone has their own view of it, I think, and it's spilling over. Instead of having, I think, a Bible, if you will, of how time travel is going to affect these things, they're just kind of letting the writers, I think, they're kind of giving them a little bit of leeway, and it's enough where it's kind of screwing up some of the stories.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that a little bit. So any final thought? Well, okay, so I would just want to say, look, I'm really looking forward to the next episode where we get Civil War zombies.
Yeah. And maybe Jonah Hex, too, since Jonah Hex is Civil War.
Yeah. I mean, we think of Jonah Hex more in the Western motif, but maybe. You also had another theory, right? That maybe Solomon Grundy had something to do with.
Yeah, since there's zombies. Solomon Grundy was actually more. He was a gangster who was thrown in a bog in Louisiana,
right?
And was resurrected with voodoo, if you will. So the whole Born on a Monday thing.
Yep. Born on a Monday.
There's actually a whole line. It's supposed to be the voodoo curse, if you will, that brings him back to life.
Right. Yeah, that would be interesting. I mean, we'll see. I won't get my hopes up just because that would be a pretty big character to even like. Well, they'll probably allude to him, but it'd be a pretty big character to bring on the show.
Be good to have in Legion of Doom because that'd be kind of fun.
That's very true. That is very, very true. Okay, so any last thoughts before we move on to discussing Arrow?
No. I really dug this episode. It actually bumped Legends of Tomorrow back up into above Arrow, as a matter of fact.
Yep. So. I thought the same thing. Right now, I would say this is the show I viscerally am enjoying the most of the four. I think I have a deeper attachment to The Flash still, but this is, I think, a stronger season for Legends of Tomorrow than this season has been for The Flash so far.
Yeah, for me now, it's Supergirl, Flash, Legends, and then Arrow. Arrow's come to my bottom.
Your weird Supergirl facet. I mean, I would definitely put Legends and for me personally, Legends and Flash are still above Supergirl, but we'll see how this all pans out. So yeah, let's move on to Arrow. You know what? Do you want to maybe lead us in this one? I don't know how to break this episode down. So we've got the new team.
Yeah, we got the new team, and they, of course, Wild Dog screws up again because he doesn't follow orders.
Yeah, what the fuck is this? That they do this every episode? Like, it's driving me nuts.
I'm telling you, it's the writers. The writers don't talk to each other, is what's going on, and we're repeating the same mistakes over and over again remember we said they were going to do it. Remember the last
yeah, we did. And Artemis said the same thing. She was like, as usual, right?
Yeah.
Like, they even are getting annoyed with this at this point, that it's happening over and over again.
And I got to say, one of my pet peeves of this episode that just really pissed me off, Mr. Terrific, right? When he's fighting, the stunt double that they used.
Yes, he's like 80 years old.
Well, no, he's like about 2 feet shorter than the actor who plays Mr. Terrific, and he's about 150 pounds heavier.
Yeah.
He looked like,
and I think he's an old guy. You could kind of tell he was older.
yeah, he looked like the stunt double for Church, actually.
Yes. I was going to compare it to the Buffy stunt double from the early seasons of Buffy that looked like a 40-year-old man in a wig. This was almost as bad.
I actually, the one that makes me laugh the hardest is, I don't know if you ever saw Black Dynamite.
No, I haven't seen Black Dynamite.
They play this perfectly because it's a parody of blaxploitation movies.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point they have the stunt double who you see just abruptly changes in the middle.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's a completely different person.
Yeah, it's so true. This episode opened on a trial run for the team where they're trying to apprehend a guy who has who is it?
Works for Church.
What tech was it? Yeah, but what was the tech?
Cord Industries.
Yeah, Cord Industries. So we've got our it's kind of it's a Blue Beetle reference.
Beetle. Yes, Ted Cord was the original Blue Beetle.
So we get our Blue Beetle reference here. They're stealing from Cord Industries, and the team just totally F's it up because Wild Dog is an idiot. And even though Ollie literally said, "Do not fire, wait," and Ollie's like
Artemis
dictating. Yeah, like it's not even like there was silence and he didn't know what to do. Like Ollie's like walking them through every step over the earpiece, yet still Wild Dog takes a bad shot and Ollie has to swoop in and
it's
mop
not
up
just one bad shot. He fires off he just automatic. It's like, starts firing wildly.
Maybe if he weren't wearing the low visibility hockey mask while he's trying to snipe people, he'd be a slightly better shot. But anyway, oh wait, hold on. I need to say one thing about Legends of Tomorrow before we continue about this.
Sure.
On that same kind of a note, how the heck does the Atom not have like a take the suit off of you and put it on me button for when this happens? Like he should have a failsafe in place, shouldn't he?
Because it's not Iron Man.
But it is Iron Man, and we know that he should have this button on like a belt somewhere that says like "Come to me, suit."
Well, yeah, he doesn't have that. It's
But he should, right? If
no,
he's
it's
thinking...
not that. It's not that far advanced. We always see him tinkering with this thing. It's the prototype. It was always the prototype.
Well, then he should have some fail-safe besides destroying the suit. It can shrink by pressing a button, right? So how about he just has a remote control shrink?
It should have a remote control just to shut it down. Is what it should have.
Some sort of a failsafe. So that I was thinking about that the whole episode. Like, if this guy is this smart, he would have like if someone steals this suit, failsafe button. And anyway,
well, that's supposed to be his hubris, if you will, that he doesn't think anyone's ever going to steal the suit from him.
Yeah, I wish they had maybe alluded to that in the writing or something, because it was just like, what? This is stupid. But anyway. Yeah. Moving on, I just had to throw that out there because this is the same thing with this over and over and over. Wild Dog doing this, and him with like a sniper rifle with his like suit, like his mask on, just looked utterly ridiculous.
Yeah, you could tell he kept trying to move the eyepiece too to kind of get to the. It was just really bad.
Totally, man, totally. So Oliver swoops in to mop up the mess that Wild Dog creates. Wild Dog's literally just like whimpering in the corner, like with his head down, like, sorry guys. And Artemis is like, this is happening every time, man. Like, so that opening scene kind of set up the stage because they then get the piece of tech away from one of Church's guys and turn it over to the DA.
So basically what's going on is it's Church's plan to they were kind of wondering why they were stealing this chip that you can just buy at any store. And the reason why is because Church has planted a device in there because he knows it's going to go to police, the evidence room. And it's a bomb to break into the evidence room so they can actually steal the hammer tech that they had stolen in like the first episode of the season. And so they're going back to the original plan of trying to get their hammer tech weapons. And we also see Adrian Chase and now Deputy Mayor Lance escorting this piece of evidence into the evidence room. They want to
chain of custody. They were observing the chain of custody to make sure that nothing was going to be screwed up for the upcoming trial or whatever they wanted to do with it, and to make sure everything was safe and sound.
Yeah, and out of the 5 people in that room, they're the only 2 that survive.
Right, exactly.
I'm kind of interested that Church and his gang didn't kill them at all. Didn't shoot them, but shoot the cops, Right.
Kill all the cops. They kind of like slowly run out the door while the bomb's going off and get away totally fine. With Adrian Chase, we get a lot of vigilante commentary.
References, yes.
Yeah. This was his journey. This episode was Vigilante's journey to having the idea that vigilanteism is okay, right?
Yeah.
Like he gets to the end of the episode, he's saved by Team Arrow at the end of the episode, and he comes to the conclusion that like, oh, maybe these guys are good for something. So we see the seeds getting planted with him.
But we've already seen, in the first episode,
right.
we've seen the picture of Vigilante, because she even says the guy with the goggles looks good, and you see the picture down at the bottom of the screen, and it's Vigilante.
What's up with that then?
I don't know. I don't know if they just threw that out of continuity or what was going on, or it was kind of weird. Maybe Flashpoint happened and it erased Vigilante for a second. And
Right. I don't know. It does seem weird, because this did seem like the beginning of his journey to becoming Vigilante, which wouldn't make any sense if he were already Vigilante. But
yeah.
Whatever, we'll get the character. I guess we're just gonna have to divorce ourselves from that and be okay with it. But maybe they'll explain it at some point, like he's just acting this whole time or something like that.
Yeah, it could be.
We also get in this episode, at the end of the last episode, Felicity tells Ragman that, hey, I killed your family. Haven Rock. Yeah, I killed your family and all of your town in Haven Rock. And he decides to leave the team, and this is his and her journey to forgiving themselves and each other and keeping each other accountable going forward, and him coming back to the fold and kind of dealing with his animos, or his it's just his feelings. And we also find out that Ragman, the suit is really a mantle passed down from generation to generation, and his father and grandfather also had the suit and fought for good or whatever, and we don't know if it's good or bad, and we don't know if there is the insanity idea connected with this either, or how many times they went out with the suit or anything like that. All we know is that this is a legacy.
Yes, correct.
This actor is the best actor on the show right now.
Well, no, it's because you've only seen, honestly, I think a total of 3 minutes of his acting. That's why. And
it's a low bar.
Well, tell you the truth, I like Mr. Terrific the best out of everyone who's acting on this show.
Yeah, I mean, look, Felicity is great, and Ollie's great. We're kind of used to that, their shtick at this point, right?
Yeah.
And Mr. Terrific is like a really fun character. He's good. He's really good at delivering the lines he has to deliver. I just think that there's a little bit more to the Ragman character. I forget his name right now, but there's a little bit more Rory. There's a little bit more to Rory than to some of these other characters. He's kind of dealing with more, and for being such like a young, he's coming off as like a genuinely like good dude who's kind of being drawn into this darkness, right? And I think it's really effective.
I need to see more of it before I can make an opinion, to tell you the truth. I mean,
yeah.
I've only seen, like I said, 3 minutes of acting, and so the character, I like the character, Ragman, and so we just haven't developed the alter ego yet.
Yeah. I also love that every time he talks to someone in the suit, they're like, wow, that's horrifying. He's like, yeah, I know. Like, I love those little moments with him. Like, it's so great, because it is horrifying.
Yes. With the raspy voice and everything.
Yeah, and like the scarecrow suit where like the rags like move with it's pretty badass. And that move where they were firing the bullets and he turned his back and all the rags went out and like stopped all the bullets from coming.
Yeah.
That was really cool. That looked so good.
Yeah. They did a good job with that.
They blew their budget there for sure.
They didn't really have that much to spend it on this episode.
Sure.
It was just breaking Diggle out of prison.
Yeah.
That's our next thing.
Yeah, before we get to the prison stuff and the Russian flashbacks, let's finish this kind of stuff off. The one other thing that happened with Team Arrow this episode was Mr. Terrific gets knifed in the back, and it did not look good. What do you
No.
think the consequences of this are going forward?
He's going to start developing tech to cover his back, if you will.
Boom.
So I think we're going to start seeing, since we already saw the balls,
Gold balls.
No, the what is it they call them? The T-balls, I think is what they were called in the comics. That Mr. Terrific uses that, he can control and whatever.
Yeah.
We already saw that in, was it last season? Last season.
Yes.
He was actually tinkering with them in Palmer Tech.
Mm-hmm.
So more than likely he'll come back to those. He has to at some point because that's part of Mr. Terrific. And
yep. Yeah. No. I think you're right. I think I'm discounting because they've taken so long on the wind up for Mr. Terrific. I think I'm discounting how good this guy is at playing this character and how well they are developing it because they're taking their time. And I think I'm overestimating the Ragman stuff because they went to it really quickly and really out of the blue, and it's just kind of worked as far as now. But you're right, we've only seen it for a couple episodes, and we've only seen Rory out of the suit for probably a total of 5 minutes on screen. So, but what we have seen is really good. So maybe I am discounting the guy who's playing Mr. Terrific right now, and where the character is going.
Well, the thing I'm liking about Mr. Terrific is you got to remember he's married.
Yep.
So his partner, he's lying to him all the time, which I thought was kind of nice. The way you see him, he's always got this other lie that whenever he's talking to him on the phone, he's like, "Yeah, I'm still stuck at work. I'm stuck in traffic, or whatnot." And he's getting tired of lying.
Yes.
You can tell. And it's interesting. I like this whole dynamic. That then also he's not just another vigilante. He's Felicity's equal. So he can fill in for her.
I think, the problem for me is that he's falling somewhere in between old Team Arrow and new Team Arrow, like friend of the team and new recruit. He's somewhere in between those, where we're treating him like a new recruit, but he's not
old
really.
Baggage is what you've got.
Yeah. So it's just undefined where he fits into Oliver's plan, because he didn't really give him any credit for like a whole season, and now he's like one of the new recruits, but they're not spending any time on him because he's not one of the new recruits that we're learning about right now.
Well, if you want to talk about someone who hasn't had any time spent on them, Artemis, they could just put a cardboard cutout of a woman someplace, and
they don't want to give too much away before Young Justice.
Oh, please, we're not going to do Young Justice. As much as you want it to happen, it's not going to happen.
Hashtag Young Justice lives. It's happening. It's gonna happen. It's got to happen.
I feel so sorry for this actress. She's been sitting here playing this character, and they haven't defined her at all. I mean, honestly, I think this is the first episode they actually named her Artemis, right?
Yes. It is. No, I think that when we were introduced to her, we learned her name, and this is the first time since she's been on Team Arrow, I think. But here's the thing. I think that where they're going with these new recruits is, I don't think that they are. Her character in the DC universe is way bigger than Wild Dog, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like there's more people who know Artemis than Wild Dog. So there's got to be somewhere we've got Speedy, we've got Roy, and we've got Artemis. All of them are gonna have I feel like there's bigger plans for Artemis, and they're just biding time right now. So I have faith that they're gonna do something with her eventually. I don't love the actress though; she's very nondescript.
Well, they haven't given her anything to work with. That's the whole thing. It's just like basically what they've given her is like, "Oh, Wild Dog, you little rapscallion," kind of thing. That's literally kind of what they've been giving her.
Yeah,
to work with.
You're right. So the last thing to say about the new recruits before we move on to the two jail sequences, the flashback and the current jailbreaks. They Felicity somehow convinces the team to try to stop Oliver from breaking Diggle out of prison. She doesn't show up. She doesn't mention anything. She just hangs them out to dry and tells them to make this like stand against Oliver's judgment.
What I actually liked about this whole thing was they get their asses handed to them fairly quickly, and they realize, oh, when he's been training us, he's been holding back a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yes. They're like, maybe we're not as good as we thought we were.
Yeah. And I think that's what they needed. They needed to kind of get their asses handed to them by Ollie, like, for real.
Yes.
Just for them to kind of, I don't know, up their game a bit more. And I think we might see this actually resonate with Wild Dog, especially.
Yeah, Wild Dog.
Hopefully you get some sense kicked into his head.
How does he even think he's at like Oliver level? Like this he's such an they make the character so unlikable by doing this, right?
Yeah.
Like they make us really despise this character. If there's any point in which we're supposed to feel for this character at any time in the future, they have completely undercut that with these first 4 episodes.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah.
So I'm going to need you to, again, decode the mystery that are these flashbacks.
Pravda?
What's going on?
So, basically it's the hunt for information. So it kind of ties into what the hell Church is doing.
How?
We don't know what Church is doing, and that's the whole thing, is we need more information. And his going into the prison to get more information, to get the server information from this guy, so that he can meet his objective.
And then killing him.
Because he's supposed to be essentially willing to do anything in order to get this information.
Right, to achieve the objective.
To achieve the objective. And that's what this whole thing is all about, is we're finding out what Ollie learned, who he was, basically, when he was the vigilante. So we still haven't learned who Ollie is completely.
Right. I mean, look, he spent a lot of time away. We saw him at the beginning of these. I think the flashbacks were way more effective when it was showing like Ollie as a pitiful, reckless kid versus this grim reaper that was Arrow in season 1, right? And right now the problem is there's not nearly as big of a difference between what we're seeing in these Russian flashbacks versus who Oliver is. So, we're just getting too close. And not only that, but these flashbacks are, the thread is very disconnected, and it seems like it's just a waste of screen time to be like, it feels like they could get this same effect through to the audience in a much tighter fashion than they're doing right now. I know you're enjoying them to some degree, at least.
I mean, this was only
less. I could fast
like
forward
5 minutes. It was 5 minutes, and
5 minutes I could fast forward. I'd rather see Wild Dog fuck up again than watch more.
No. There's going to be a payoff to it. Just hang with it. There's going to be a payoff to it.
I'll be here talking shit about it every week.
I know.
So,
I happen to like, I like these better than the Island flashbacks.
Huh. Wow, that's interesting.
Well, the ones that had Deathstroke, I like the ones with Deathstroke.
Those are great.
Excuse me.
And the Constantine one was pretty cool. But
the Constantine one was good.
Yeah.
But all the other stuff for the Island flashbacks are just kind of,
I agree. And the ship flashbacks weren't great either. Since the season 1 flashbacks, the whole idea of flashbacks in this show should have just been erased, in my opinion.
I think after this season they will be.
I certainly hope so.
Because they're going to catch up to where, we're now a year out from when he comes back.
Yep.
So this should be, now we catch up to him coming back.
I certainly hope so. That said, The main storyline, I would say, the main like
Yeah, the boring
Arrow
storyline.
is Arrow is Oliver bringing Diggle back
Breaking
into the
Diggle
fold
out
by
of the
breaking him
military
out
prison. Yeah, against his will.
against his will. However, he makes a lot of sense, right? Like I do think Oliver's argument is sound. Like you're dealing with this, you can do your penance, but you can also do good for the world instead of just stewing in here in your own misery, right? Like that's his argument.
True. Yeah. I mean, it just I don't know. The whole breaking out of prison thing took a lot longer than it needed to, and then the whole the scene that they borrowed from The Dark Knight at the end of
So he
it.
breaks into Palmer Tech to get this like stuff that he can spray onto the ground to open a hole in the prison.
Anti-molecular polymer.
Yeah, sure. Anti-molecular polymer. Yeah, one of those.
I thought it was just funny. I actually want to use that at some point in time. And I have an anti-molecular polymer.
Yeah, in my pocket. Or are you just happy to see me? So I did like though the scene. They did a good job on the actual stealth action of him breaking into the prison and like fucking with the guards and stuff.
Yeah.
And uh, now my question is: now that we've got Diggle out of prison, um, supposedly he has to go on the run with his wife and kid. Like, what's the next step for
Well, no,
Spartan?
just him. He's hiding out in the old Hive headquarters. You remember Damien
Okay.
Dark's Hive, which is underneath the city.
So he's still going to be Spartan. He's just going to do it from that layer.
Yes, exactly.
Because I think the previews showed a dude in a mask shooting things. That was Spartan, right?
I believe so, because I know they're supposed to revamp Diggle's uniform.
Yeah, it looked pretty cool. In fact, it was so different. I thought it may have been a different villain or something, but the mask looked really cool in the previews.
Yeah, it's no more the Magneto mask.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So yeah, I mean, look, if Spartan is just Spartan and less John Diggle, like I don't love the character of John Diggle, but I like the idea of having Spartan on the team, right? So it's hard to reconcile that.
Right now, I don't even need Spartan on the team. Tell you the truth, I think it's wasted. It's wasted energy.
I know why Spartan. I know. Okay, it just dawned on me why we've been going through the Wild Dog thing over and over again. Spartan is gonna. Wild Dog's like mini Spartan, but shitty, and Spartan's gonna have to be the one to kick this kid's ass into line. So they've just been waiting to get Spartan back to train him more one-on-one. I think.
So So basically, we have one bad character teaching another bad character how to, be even a shitty character, more shitty character than he already is.
Two wrongs might make a right here, maybe.
I was happy with Diggle being overseas, in the military, and just having him Skype to Oliver every once in a while, but they wouldn't be able to Skype because there's some satellite problems or something, so we couldn't see his face. We just get a brief second of audio. It's like, and it cut out. Like, oh, well, we can't hear from him this week. Too bad.
I hope he's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be good. But look, they've done what these shows have done from time to time, and I don't think you agree with me here, but I'm going to agree with me instead. I think that what they've done a pretty good job of taking characters that I haven't really liked and making them likable in a different scenery, right? So like I didn't like Speedy as Speedy, but I liked her when she was like mini Arrow, right? And I like her a lot as the chief of staff of the mayor.
Chief of staff of the mayor. She doesn't have screen time.
She's got some good screen time. And another character that I think I hated for a long time until she got into action, Laurel, I liked as Canary.
I still didn't like her Black Canary, honestly.
And like Sarah, like we just talked about in Legends of Tomorrow, I haven't been a big fan of Sarah until now. She's leading this team of misfits through time, and she's pretty good at it. And so they've done a pretty good job, I think, aside from the Hawk people and maybe a couple other characters, of taking some actors, some characters, some power sets that I haven't really loved, and then figuring out a foil for them or someone that they can work with in an interesting way to make them a little bit more likable. And I'm crossing my fingers that this is Spartan and Wild Dog's moment for that. A little optimism?
Well, I don't know. I really just don't like the characters, to tell you the truth. I'm still
Or is it the characters or the actors? I
It's
mean,
the
for Wild
characters.
Dog, it's the character.
Wild Dog, I love the actor. Love the actor. For Spartan, it's both the character and the actor. I mean,
He's so
the actor is so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is very wooden.
I mean, the guy who plays Luke Cage makes the guy who plays Diggle look like the worst. You know what I mean? Like it's the bar isn't even that high for Diggle, and he still doesn't tend to reach it week in and week out. It's just so boring.
The guy who plays Church, who's chewing up scenery left and right.
He's great.
He was on The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
And he was horrible on The Walking Dead. He's horrible in this as well, but at least he's found this way of overacting to the point where it's comical.
Yeah. Yep.
And
agreed.
And that's his only saving grace, honestly.
Yep. So, what was the tag was there a tag at the end of this episode?
I don't remember, to tell you the truth.
So where are we going? Is this show on a track for improvement or deprovement in your estimation?
It all depends on Flashpoint. If we're going to have another reboot of, universes,
right?
Since we already know this is tied to the Flash, and if something happens in Flash, we more than likely are going to have repercussions in Arrow as well.
Yep. Okay, well, I guess before we sign off, let's do some housekeeping here. We've got all of our CW shows are returning next week, so Dennis and I will be here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday to break down all the CW DC action. We've got Ash versus Evil Dead. Gary and Dennis should be breaking that down this Sunday, and then following the episode of Walking Dead, Gary, Dennis, and I should be on the line late Sunday evening to talk about all the crazy Lucille Negan action going on there.
Yeah.
You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at JohnReed16. Dennis is at DeForce.
DeForce. There we go.
You can also follow our main Nerdrotics Twitter feed at Nerdrotics with an S. Please go over to nerdrotic.com and check out all of the content we have coming your way. Everything is posted there and then fed out to everything else. And if you want any updates on what's coming new and if we add any shows or take anything away or reschedule anything, go to the Facebook page at facebook.com/nerdroticpodcast. You will get all of our news, events, and links all in one place over there at Facebook. I would love to start our new news show this weekend if we can get around to it. Otherwise, it'll be coming to you within the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned for that. And anything else, Dennis, before we break?
No, just don't let the door hit your ass on the way out, America.
Awesome. Bye.
See ya.